TASYA VOS doesn't just pull the trigger. She is a ghost, an elite tool of a corporation that turned human consciousness into program code. The mechanics of her work are terrifying in their sterility. TASYA lies in a futuristic setup resembling a sarcophagus, and her mind is broadcast through a neural network directly into another person's brain. For the duration of the mission, she literally becomes her host. She feels the taste of their food, the warmth of their skin, and the weight of their memories. But there is one ironclad and gruesome rule. To break the connection and return, the host must die. Suicide by someone else's hands is the only way out of this digital loop. However, director Brandon Cronenberg shows us that this technology does not pass without a trace. Every possession is an act of mental violence, not only against the victim, but against TASYA herself. Look at her face when she is not on a mission. She looks like an empty shell. There is no life in her eyes because she has spent too long trying on other people's lives. She begins to lose the understanding of where the client's personality ends and where her own self begins. The most important moment for understanding her character is the decompression scene after her return. Her mission handler, Girder, conducts a test that feels more like an interrogation. TASYA is shown a box of her personal belongings, an old childhood toy, a wedding ring, a yellowed notebook. Girder asks, "What is this? What do you feel?" This is a test of synchronization with her own reality. TASYA must prove to the system that she is still TASYA VOS, and not an echo of the people she recently eliminated. But look at the details. She delivers her answers like a rehearsed script. There is not a drop of warmth or nostalgia in her voice. She calls the ring a symbol of love for her husband, but she does so with the same cold expression a butcher has when carving a carcass. We see the first serious crack in her consciousness. Her real life, her husband Michael and son Isaac, have become just as much of a simulation to her as her work missions. She no longer lives. She imitates human behavior so as not to be scrapped. She is so used to being in someone else's skin that her own skin feels tight and foreign. Her psyche begins to perceive reality as an obstacle that prevents her from performing her only function, to kill. The plot takes a sharp turn when TASYA VOS receives her most ambitious and dangerous assignment. Her new target is John Parse, the head of a giant technology corporation, a man with almost limitless power. But approaching him directly is impossible. The only way is to use a Trojan horse. In this mission, that horse is Colin Tate. Colin Tate is a guy dating John Parse's daughter, Ava. He works at the same corporation in a low position and feels like an absolute stranger in this world of sterile luxury and arrogance. Colin is depressed, constantly under pressure from his future father-in-law, and feels like a nobody. For TASYA VOS, he should have been the perfect host, a person with a broken will who is easy to subjugate. However, it is in Colin's body that the technology begins to fail. TASYA makes the jump and occupies his consciousness, but instead of becoming an invisible puppeteer, she begins to drown in his sensations. We see how TASYA, controlling Colin's body, begins to delay the mission. She is not just observing, she begins to taste his life, his feelings for Ava, and his hatred for John Parse. Pay attention to the scene where Colin, under TASYA's control, eats. This is not just a meal, it is an act of greedy cognition of the physical world that TASYA long ago lost in her own body. But behind this curiosity lies something darker. At some point, TASYA begins to experience deviant pleasure. Being in someone else's skin, she intentionally causes herself pain, just to feel the sharpness of the moment that she can no longer extract from her reality with her husband Michael. Here the main psychological conflict of the chapter manifests. TASYA VOS begins to sympathize with Colin's rage. His desire to strike John Parse resonates with her internal thirst for destruction. The control of the corporation and the handler Girder becomes weaker. We see how the boundaries between the self of TASYA and the self of Colin begin to vibrate and blur. This is no longer just the work of a professional hitman. It is a dangerous game where the invader begins to forget why she entered this door in the first place. TASYA dives so deep into Colin's depressive and aggressive world that her own personality begins to finally disintegrate. She is no longer leading her victim. She begins to fight him for the right to possess a single pair of hands and eyes. This is the beginning of the end of her professional career and the start of her complete transformation into something else, devoid of humanity. The situation reaches a boiling point when the neural connection between TASYA VOS and Colin Tate finally destabilizes. This is no longer just a technical glitch, but a full-scale war of two consciousnesses in one body. The inner space of the mind turns into a surreal battlefield where the images of TASYA and Colin literally collide and devour each other. We see faces melting and flowing into one another, a visual metaphor for the total loss of identity. Colin suddenly wakes up inside his own brain. He realizes the presence of the invader and begins to fight desperately for the right to possess his own hands and voice. TASYA is no longer a detached observer. She finds herself trapped in a labyrinth of Colin's false memories, where the line between her past with Michael and the present of her victim is erased. The most terrifying aspect of this struggle is that TASYA begins to lose the will to win. Her own self is so exhausted by years of murders and decompressions conducted by Girder that she begins to subconsciously desire her own dissolution in Colin. This is an existential suicide. She wants to stop being TASYA VOS, even if it means turning into chaotic noise in someone else's head. The corporation and Girder try to forcibly terminate the mission, but Colin intercepts control. He commits an act of violence not provided for in the plan, thereby breaking TASYA's return algorithm. Now they are both stuck in a between-world, a logicless space where there is no time or stable form. Brandon Cronenberg asks the viewer, if you kill someone while being inside their head, who exactly is committing the murder? We see Colin's rage and TASYA's professional coldness merge into something third, absolute, causeless violence. Personality is gone. There is only an impulse for destruction that tears the host from the within. The film's finale is not just the completion of a mission. It is the final burial of TASYA VOS's soul. When Colin Tate attempts to strike back, Girder steps into the game. She realizes that control is lost and resorts to extreme measures. In a shocking climax, TASYA is forced to kill the most precious things she has left in reality, her husband Michael and her son Isaac. But does she do it on orders, or because herself has finally merged with Colin's rage? The most terrifying moment comes after. TASYA returns to her body and undergoes the synchronization test again. Girder shows her the same personal items. But now, looking at the wedding ring and the butterfly she once found with her son, TASYA no longer imitates emotions. She feels nothing at all. She has proven her professional fitness by killing the human within. Now she is the perfect possessor, a blank slate for the corporation. TASYA VOS died inside her own body, leaving behind only a cold, efficient machine. This is the triumph of technology over spirit. Possessor is one of the most uncomfortable and profound films of the decade. Brandon Cronenberg created not just science fiction, but a frightening mirror of our future. Even today, we sell our identities on social media, trying on filters and masks, attempting to seem like someone else. What struck me most was how the director portrays violence. Here it is not heroic. It is dirty, intimate, and meaningless. It is violence for the sake of simply feeling reality, when your own life has turned into digital noise. This film leaves behind one important question. When was the last time you were yourself, and not playing a role imposed by the system? If you feel like your life is turning into a mechanical ritual, perhaps someone has already pressed the synchronization button in your head. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel. See you soon.